Welcome to our morning devotion. It is on a Saturday morning. We want to thank God for His faithfulness. He has been with us throughout the week in different areas, in different places. God has been faithful. In different journeys, He has continued to protect you and also to guard you from the plans of the evil one. It is always good to remember that God has overcome many battles for you, battles that maybe you never even experienced, battles you never saw, but in His divine way, He was able to protect you from the plans of the evil one. Always the plans of the evil one is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. He's always there to destroy what is in you, to destroy that family, to destroy and also to kill you. But being alive, knowing that you are with God, it is a victory to thank God. Knowing that God has been with you throughout this week, throughout this year, we can say that God has fought our battles and we are victorious. There is a reason to thank God for the many things, many battles He has won for us. We thank Him for His providence, that we continue to receive from Him. Even when we are facing economic difficulties, God has been faithful. We can say that we have seen His hand in all situations. Even now, invite Him in that circumstance, in that situation, and you'll see Him doing miracles in our lives. God has continued to sustain our children in school, and as they have come back, we thank God that He was able to sustain them the term that was. We also thank God for our children who are about to do their exams. Let us continue praying for them, that God will also grant them victory and success, good health, and also the grace to remember the things they have learned. We commit them to God because we know with God nothing is impossible. With God they will come out victorious. With God we'll see their success, and we'll also have an opportunity to thank Him for the things He'll be able to have done. We go back to our theme of raising godly altars in our families. This week we have been learning about restoring godly altars in our families. And we have learned a lot about the things that destroy our family altars. We have also learned about steps on how we can restore the family altars, building a wall of self-control within our families, around our families, that the enemy will not use any of us in our families to bring discord and disunity and destroy the altar that we have. That will not be tempted to visit the witchcrafts, the sorcerers, going to witch doctors, seeking help when we know there is a God whom we can tell of our problems and He can solve them. Will not be tempted to go out and even expose our loved ones when we ought to defend them. That we can create that wall and strong gates that the enemy will not find a place to come and destroy the altar we have. We have also learned that we need to get rid of the things that brought destruction in our relationships as a family. We have also continued to learn that through humility we can reach out to that brother, reach out to that sister, reach out to that parent, reach out to that child, that your relationship with him or her was destroyed, but you can be able to restore. It is a time of revival that God can revive our family altars. It is at this time, and God knew why we had to talk about this at this time. Throughout the year, we have had different themes, but it is not a coincidence. It is not by just happening by chance that we are talking about this at this time. It is a call that God is calling us, that it is time to restore our godly family altars. In the book of Isaiah 61, we know that this is a message of the year of Lord's favor. And indeed, it could be our year of Lord's favor when we talk about our family altars. It is that year that God is visiting us as a family. Through you, God is visiting us, that we may restore and rebuild and revive the family altars. In this chapter that we read mostly in December when we talk about the birth of Jesus Christ, the Lord's favor, the year of the Lord's favor. In verse 4, when that year of the Lord's favor comes, he says, they will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. There are cities, we are families, and we know our family is a city. You are a nation. You are a city. A city so precious before God that God raised you as a family that you may serve him. But when those cities are broken into, when those altars were defiled and also brought down, he says that those cities, those families, those relationships became ruins, old, forgotten, and devastated. The Bible reminds us that when the year of the Lord comes, we will be able to rebuild the ancient ruins. This is the year of the Lord. This is the time of the Lord. The ruins in our families, the altars that were long forgotten, the long devastated altars, the fellowships we had and no longer exist, the times we share together, the memory verses with our children when they were young, and they are long forgotten because now they are elders. God is reminding us that they can be rebuilt. They can be restored. They can be renewed. It is that time that we need that revival, that God will come and restore the fellowship we had, the good moments we shared, the trips we went as a family. We can go and visit one another and have fellowship together as one. Our family altars can only be raised when the ruins are restored, when the broken are restored, when the old are renewed, when the brought down can be rebuilt. We are able to rebuild. We are able to restore. We are able to renew. When we see the state of our family altars, when we see the state of our fellowships and our relationship with our children and with our siblings, if indeed we mourn about them, then we can desire to renew them, to restore them, and to rebuild them. God is able if we allow him. God is able to restore families. We know because we are witnesses. We have seen families restored. We have seen relationships restored. We have seen God working within us. We have seen when we put our differences aside, God working within us and through us. But if only we can allow ourselves to be used by God. In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, this is Paul writing to the Corinthians in the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 5. Verse 20, he says, "We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." He says that he's pleading to us Christians as an ambassador of God in the name of Christ, that we be reconciled to God. As a family, we be reconciled to God. As individuals, we be reconciled to God. As a church, we be reconciled to God. As a nation, we should be reconciled to God. He's pleading that let there be reconciliation to God. Let our relationship with God be reconciled. But as we think about the vertical relationship with God, He's also calling us to think about our horizontal relationships with those around us, with those who we are related to, with those who are our friends, with those who are our relatives. We need to be reconciled to God, and we cannot love God, whom we have not seen, if we cannot love people whom we see, people who we have spent time with, people who we have shared moments with. Then we cannot love God if we cannot love men. May God help us as we think about this family altar, that we see this is the time, the year, the time of the Lord to bring a revival in our families, that the fire in our family altars may be reignited and restored, that it may continue burning, that we can be agents and ambassadors, a source of reconciliation towards our family members and also our family, our parents and our children. May we, as Paul, be ambassadors of Christ, to go out and spread the message of reconciliation to our family members, beseeching them to be reconciled to God and be reconciled to one another. If we are truly Christians, then our salvation should be bringing us together and not taking us apart. We have seen families who have grown apart because of religion, because a child left your church, your denomination, and chose a different denomination. You see there is a discord between the child and the parent. When both are talking about salvation, when both are talking about believing in one Christ, when both are talking about going to the same heaven. We have seen our differences of denomination bringing discord in our families when one goes to one denomination and the other feels that their denomination is superior than the rest. What should be bringing us together, the love of God, has been a challenge to us, and we have taken it so personal that it brings discord. May we see the differences as a blessing in disguise, that you can come and preach, that you can come and praise, that you can come and worship the way we do them differently, but worshiping towards one God. When we are tempted to think like we are superior than others, let us remember that is pride, and we should be humble. Let us be agents and ambassadors of reconciliation, agents of love, agents of peace, agents of kindness. When your child chooses to go to a different church, as long as he's serving God, let him serve God in that church. When that brother leaves your denomination and goes to a different denomination, let him encourage him to serve God in that denomination. God has called us and is continuing to call us in different ministries. Let what God has brought us together be not a source of discord, but a source of peace. Paul is reminding the people in Corinthians, those who are serving, those who are worshiping in the church of Corinthians, that I plead with you, be reconciled to God. Let us not be just Christians by name. Let us not be like the people of Corinthians who had disunity in their church because of various things and discord among themselves, that they were reminded to come together. At this time, God is also reminding us, let us take this message of reconciliation, that this is the time of God's favor, that when we come together as a family, God's favor will be with us. And when God's favor is with us, with a family, then we'll be able to excel and thrive even in difficult times. We'll be able to call upon His name, and He will come and deliver us from the things we are facing as a family. The challenges we are facing with our brothers and sisters can only be overcome when we reconcile together and pray and bring those petitions before God as a family, and we'll see transformation in our families, transformation in our children, transformation in our spouses. There is power when we come together, reconciling to God and to one another. There is a reason why God made us to be in our families. There is a purpose why you are in that family. If God has to bring a revival in your family, then that revival ought to come through you. God is bringing peace in our families. That peace will only come through you as an agent of peace. When God is coming to reconcile us as a church, it calls upon me and you to be agents of peace, to be agents of love, to be agents of reconciliation, that God will find us as one and will be able to speak amongst us and raise us together as a family, as a church, and as a nation. Nothing is too old that cannot be renewed. Nothing is so broken that it cannot be rebuilt. Nothing is so dead that it cannot be revived. God is able. If we allow ourselves to be used by Him, then He will be able to do it for us, for our families, and also for our church. In the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.